Hi everyone, welcome to an episode of Landvault podcast. This year we're going to try to create a lot more content, and we're going to do casual conversations with me, with Hamza here, and with other people from the team. Sometimes we'll bring clients, sometimes we'll bring partners, and the goal is really to give you some insights about what we're building, not just the product, but also generally as a company. And so today I'm excited to be joined by Hamza, who has just joined the company as our new VP of Sales based in Dubai. Hamza, welcome. Happy New Year. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey Sam, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me as well. And like literally, I'm so excited to discuss more about Landvault and what you guys are doing in this region because honestly, it's just amazing. Hence, I'm part of the team and good to be here.
For sure. Yeah. So you just joined just before Christmas. So, obviously still fresh, but we've been through a pretty intense onboarding to make sure you're aware of everything. You brought a few opportunities our way as well. So this is all exciting, and we're entering 2024 with a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities. But I did want to spend a bit of time going back on your background, what you've seen. To me, I mean, I just arrived in this region in beautiful Dubai here about a year ago, a bit less, but I can already see how quickly things are changing. So to me, this is
That's a
the land
beautiful
of
view.
fast. Thank you. Yeah, it looks like a postcard in the middle of summer.
It does,
Um,
doesn't it? Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, it's to me what's been really impressive here is the pace of change. Even in 1 year, I feel like I've seen so many new things being set up, so many new ideas, so many new things just growing. In a sense that even with 10 years in Europe, I hadn't really seen that kind of constant pace of innovation. So I can only imagine what it would be for you having lived. How many years have you lived in the UAE?
you're going to make me sound old. 36,
Damn. So
36
yeah,
years.
tell us more about that. Like what you've seen, how the region has changed and what has this has meant also for your career. You've worked in many different areas, private sector, public sector. Tell us more about the evolution.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, I mean, I would say I'm one of the few who got the opportunity to work with most of the government entities within the region. And you're 100% right about change and innovation and digital transformation because what I have seen in the last, I would say, roughly 15 to 20 years has just been just, a rocket up, right? And in terms of change in Dubai, like literally when we make a joke like if you're out of Dubai for a couple of months and you come back, they change the road. Literally, the road is different. Or they create a new one. So the city or the country itself is going through massive changes. But going back to my background, I started my career with Dubai Customs, right? And obviously, it's a government entity. And what happened was that the Dubai Customs was trying to implement a system called Emir Solve 2, where they were trying to deviate from the traditional paper documents to a new electronic e-commerce and e-clearance system, right? That's how my digital transformation journey actually started. And I'll tell you, that was one of the most challenging times because our end customers were drivers or some clearance people who are coming down. So imagine educating these guys on change, right? And going from paper documents, which they're comfortable with, to everything electronic. So, but I realized that I always had this vision that they want to be ahead of the other, or the UAE actually wants to be ahead of the other countries in terms of innovation. And that's when, my journey started. So Dubai Customs and then Dubai Ports. And with Dubai Ports, they were actually, I was one of the first people who was a part of a department that they just initiated called Dubai Trade. Now, Dubai Trade, what it wanted to do was they wanted to have all the business units of Dubai Customs, Dubai Ports, the Jebel Ali Free Zone, and many other government business units on a single portal. Seamless integration of all these business units from a single portal where anybody could just come in, go to this Dubai Trade website, and get all their services done ABCD in a single place. So that was also very interesting, where they were trying to align everybody and have these workshops and make it easier for people to basically trade, right? Again, a part of they were part of their digital transformation. So as things progressed, I realized that I always ended up being a part of these organizations that kind of wanted to contribute to the growing ecosystem of the UAE. Um, my big break, I would say, that really came in was when I joined Emirates, and spent almost 10 years with these guys. It was absolutely phenomenal. Emirates is a very forward thinking company, and airline with, I would say, in my opinion, unparalleled standards.
Mm.
And what the department that I was in was, they were trying to like basically convert, uh, Airable. I don't know if you know what the Airable. Like, it's basically a document that anybody who wants to transport any goods, cargo, anything, they have to have an Airable. They wanted to make this document electronic, and this was in line with IATA's vision. So it was going to be e-Airable, end to end, from one country to another country, no document, having everything transferred electronically, where you can just ship your documents and have no document, right? You ship your cargo and have no document.
Yep.
So that was quite interesting. But I was always interested in this, I would say, this immersive world, this artificial intelligence, blockchain. And roughly 3.5 years ago, when what happened, and people were like, okay, let's kind of start getting into crypto. Let's face it, everybody got into crypto roughly 3 years ago. That's when I would say, personally, the hype happened. And that's how I kind of got into the whole blockchain world. And I didn't want to learn about the crypto as itself, the space of crypto, because I realized crypto in itself is tied to something. I mean, it's just, in reference that I tell people, you have a car, which is the blockchain, but people always are focusing on the petrol, which is the crypto, right? Who focuses on the ecosystem?
Mm-hmm.
Who focuses on what is the utility of the blockchain? What is the use case? So that kind of got me interested, and then I started actually getting into the whole blockchain space, understanding how it works, understanding the ecosystem. I started working very closely with some other government entities as well, who are trying to get into this blockchain space, discuss with peers, with people from the industry. And I think you know that when obviously the whole world was closed, Dubai was always open, right?
A lot of people came here during that time, for sure.
They were always open, with open arms. Dubai was always open. So during COVID, a lot of people came down here from the industry. A lot of business people came down here, and they wanted to just network, and meeting these people, understanding what their vision is, their products, kind of gives insights of how people see this region. They see this region as a catalyst of change. They see this region as a catalyst of growth. And met some amazing like-minded people just like yourself, and learned and discussed basically what they're doing in the space. And it's mind-blowing, because there's so many good products out there. And obviously, during that time, I co-founded Masari, which was also trying to focus on bringing these companies within the region. We partnered up with some companies like Coinify, which is the world's largest payment provider, and some other entities. And then I got into immersive web, right? Immersive web, building immersive experiences, artificial intelligence, hence my love for artificial intelligence, and why I got into the whole masters of AI with the University of Birmingham, Dubai. So coming across Landvault was obviously, it was imperative. It was everybody was talking about Landvault. People were like, hey, you should check this company out. They're really focused in the region. They're building some amazing experiences. That's when we met as well. And I mean, we just clicked. It was just a good looking man.
Had to be. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Honestly, Sam, it was meant to be. I love what you guys are doing here. And coming from, like I said, almost 18 years of working with these government institutions, seeing firsthand change, seeing innovation, and then seeing the results, 2 months later. and seeing the impact that this digital transformation has had on the society or on the country itself, for me, I always have foresight, like the future foresight. And I can see that, obviously, I'm going to touch base on the strategies that the government has implemented, like the Dubai Metaverse strategy, the Dubai Artificial Intelligence strategy. Um, it's a no-brainer, right? We have a clear fundamental, concept. We have clear guideline that is telling you, look, this is what we want to be. This is what we want to achieve in the future. And you guys are aligned with that vision. So obviously, it makes sense to me to be a part of that and be a part of the team to make sure that we are contributing to that vision. So that's why I'm here.
100%. And that's something I want to touch on a little bit, because it may feel natural to you, but for me, coming from Europe, the government there doesn't have a public strategy for AI, a public strategy for metaverse, right? There's general guidelines about tech, about investment, and some things that you can do there, but it's not really specific to an industry this way. So that's, to me, was very appealing when, coming here, to see that there are actual programs. There is people in the government that are focused on this. There is rules, regulation about that specific subset of the industry, because I do believe that this is what pushes the industry forward. So what do you think that is? Why is the government really focused on having, a metaverse strategy, an AI strategy? How do you see that playing out?
I'm glad you said that. I mean, there are two types of approaches in any kind of, I would say, a country, right? There's the top down and bottom down. Either the people make the initiative, or the government makes the initiative. Here, I would say it's together, right? The government understands, right, the future. That's where, if you actually see the Dubai Future Foundation, their vision, or obviously the rulers' vision, they always say that they need to have foresight, or they need to have the certain foundations of foresight. And this country, obviously, back then people used to be like, oh, Dubai are rich because of oil or whatsoever, but actually not. It's a
That
business hub.
diversified? No.
Exactly. It's a business hub, right? Number one, it's a tourist hub. It's a travel hub, right? So by putting their, resources accordingly and making as such that they diversify in many certain areas where the country is just literally flourishing, right? And doing things differently, I would say. Like I said, when COVID was there, they very, very tactically or very, very carefully opened the country as such that people were coming in here, the business was still running, right? So these kind of initiatives, these kind of, I would say, these plans that they do, it's just amazing, especially for me, being in the UAE for 36 years. I'm like, wow, like they think so differently, right? So,
And it's all documented, right? I actually have this book. It's my coffee
oh,
table book. And it's all been documented for years. And that's another thing. It's not just about, initiating things, but it's also the way that this is communicating back to ensure that link between what the government says and that people can actually implement it. Now, of course,
exactly.
I'm sure it can be improved. It's not perfect, but it's very rare that, I always say that this country is kind of run like a company in a good way. If a company leader doesn't have a vision and doesn't explain the vision down and doesn't make sure that everyone can relate to the vision so they know what to do day to day to contribute to that vision, nothing really works. And I think this is how the ruling, family here is looking at it and really trying to explain that vision so that everyone can contribute in one way to another. So it's quite fascinating, actually, and I'm very excited to be, at the forefront of one of the things that they're pushing right now, which is immersive technologies.
Absolutely, absolutely understand that. The government has always had certain pillars, I would say, like education. I still remember that education was an emphasis the government many years ago by educating their citizens, by educating the masses, And even the Dubai Future Foundation, one of their, I would say, one of their core pillars is educating the people about what this technology is, right? I always say you clap with two hands, right? You have the government who is pushing the initiative, right? And you have the people who are educated and understand this initiative, right? They come together to create something magical, to create the future, I would say, right? So this is exactly what's happening in this region, with the Dubai Metaverse strategy in place, where they actually said that they want to be one of the top 10 economies in the world. Like, that is just mind blowing. That is just so inspiring and so encouraging for people who want to enter the space, right? So companies like, for example, Landvault, it's a no-brainer. Hey guys, we have a clear strategy from the government, and the government wants to achieve this, and this is the guideline. And
This is
as
the
long
place
as
to be, for sure.
exactly, so this makes businesses more comfortable to come into the region and do business together, and also basically contribute to the strategy. Simple as that, you know.
Yeah, and from what I understand is it's not the first time that they're doing this, right? It happened before. It happened with mobile, where around the 2010 or maybe a little bit after, all the government services had to be mobile accessible. So there are phases of innovation that are happening like this. And what we're betting on here is that there is a new phase, which is really a mix of AI, immersive technologies, blockchain, really as we call it, the 3D internet, this next generation of the internet that the country, wants to focus on, wants to be a global leader to attract the top talent.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. I mean, my question for you actually is, because I'm relatively new in Landvault, Sam. Maybe I think it's good to tell our viewers what Landvault is doing and what are the parameters like you guys are following. And you know, I was mind blown, to be honest, when I learned about the technology in detail. And I was like, whoa, this is really interesting, because this is actually, it's fulfilling the requirements, a lot of requirements of what businesses need, and then also the requirements of the metaverse strategy within the region.
Yeah, that's how we built it.
Maybe a
So
starting point, of
yeah,
what
yeah.
people would need. But it'll be good to, I think, talk about what Landmold is, doing in terms of technology here.
Yeah. So a bit of background, as most people probably know, if they've been following me for a little bit, is that we actually have a history for about 5 years building technologies originally for the gaming industry to help monetize 3D worlds. And then those 3D worlds expanded from being purely games to now being more like generate experience, which can be, B2B or concert or e-commerce. So it's becoming wider than games. And this is why we feel that our technology is actually perfect to power this new world and these 3D experiences that the government here wants to put in place. So we have really two sides of the company. The side that most people know is a studio where we basically work hand in hand with big brands, the MasterCard, the Heineken, but also government entities like Yas Marina, the Formula One in Abu Dhabi, or the MCC, for example, and we help them build virtual worlds pretty much from scratch. So there is a bit of consultancy, there is a bit of services. We help them build assets, refine what they want to build, and we actually have a studio that then implements those 3D experiences. But that's really, I would say, a small side. The part that we're all excited about here is the technology that powers this. So we have our own products. We have 4 products actually that supports what the studio is doing. Of course, there's always a need for creative and services and actually building things. But all of this is resting on top of a very scalable infrastructure that we have built. So we have 4 products. One of them is an assistant that uses generative AI to build faster environments. So we can get to building an entire city very quickly, for example. And there are things like Avatar and other type of systems that are pre-built. So we can just quickly integrate this and reduce the cost and the time that it takes to build. We have another product to deploy those experiences on the servers of any countries. So if you wanted to build an experience for the UAE and you wanted it to be hosted in Dubai, which is something the government would want, we have the technology to very quickly do that. But if you are based in the US and you also want your experience to be hosted in the US, then we can do that. So we have a way to basically host and deploy virtual experiences anywhere in the world very quickly in a few clicks. Another product that we have is monetization. So we believe that for this immersive web to really take over and be more than an experiment, but actually become a new version of the internet, it needs to be profitable eventually. It needs to be able to generate results so that if you are the government and you're implementing an expensive program to put all your procurement into a three-dimensional interface, for example, or meeting rooms for people to figure out a better way to open a business license, then this needs to be providing you some kind of ROI at some point. It cannot just be a cost, an incurring cost, because then there's no point and you can just use a normal website, which would be much cheaper. So we focus a lot on bringing those technologies to enable clients to actually generate revenue from their 3D worlds. So this could be something like processing transactions if you want to sell something. How do you do that inside a virtual world? Or advertising if you want to integrate brands that are paying for the space. You know, the tools that everyone knows, like Google Ads or Shopify, Google Analytics, all these tools that work very well on the 2D web, they are not optimized for the 3D web, for the immersive web. And so we are basically rebuilding all those foundational technologies that will help these clients generate revenue. So that's a very important component that we have, which is integrated more and more with our projects to ensure that whatever we build becomes a profit center for the client. Then the last one is a blockchain product. It's about bringing this content on chain, protecting the IP of your content by bringing it on chain, having an NFT to authenticate the IP, be able to tokenize the content, to sell it to your community. So again, another way to monetize that is very Web3 native, which is part of a protocol that we call Matera. It's basically a product of Landvault and eventually will be fully decentralized. And the beauty of it is if you put those 4 products end to end, you really cover the full cycle of what a creator or an enterprise or even a government would need to enter the immersive web. You have creation, you have deployment, monetization, tokenization. This is an end-to-end 360-degree service for anyone, whether you're a one-man band wanting to create a small shop for yourself in 3D, or you're an entire government trying to create a digital twin of your city. Basically, the technology covers everything. And then on top of that, our studio provides the service to actually integrate and build the assets and deploy everything. So we are really, as you know, we have big ambitions here, and we're paying very close attention to the metaverse strategy. We are basically building products that fit that strategy to answer that need, because we see that there is a gap at the moment. You know, those 2 hands, they haven't quite clapped just yet, right? There's a clear vision, and we aim to become the other hand and eventually, you know, make a loud clap and hopefully provide a solution that everyone can use.
Wow, I like that. Make a loud clap. That's pretty cool. You're right, actually. I think this year would be the year where I would see a lot of government institutions and government bodies actually harnessing these technologies.
So you were saying that the other day when we met, right? You think this is, you know, this is the year where things are accelerating. What can you explain a bit about why do you think this is, you know, we are reaching that point?
So being in obviously like meeting with a lot of government entities, meeting with a lot of people who are actually into the space, I would say that last year was more of an educational year,
Yeah,
right?
discovery.
Where
Yeah.
where they kind of learned what really is the metaverse, what really is the immersive web, because you have to remember we are kind of, as we progress, like it's been a chain, like crypto, blockchain, NFTs came in, then metaverse came in, and the AI came in. But when the metaverse did come in a couple of years ago, it was very closely linked to gaming, right? Which is fine, but the mentality or the thought process of a lot of people or the government institutions in some cases, they still think that metaverse is a game,
Right.
right? But it's not. And how, or they think that they have to look like a Lego-like kind of avatar, but actually not. Anything is literally possible using technologies like Unreal Engine or Unity. Anything is possible, right? So, um, last year was an educational period of what exactly we can do in this metaverse. What is the use case that we have, or more of an exploration, or how they were trying to put together POCs. So it was quite interesting because I saw a lot of people actually even going and enrolling themselves for degrees. I mean, that would actually educate them in the space when it comes to artificial intelligence or the metaverse. So, I think yes, last year was obviously educational. A lot of people were focusing on they were focusing a lot on education, but this year is a year of change, is what I feel. Now you've taken the education, you've taken what the metaverse can do. How can we implement this in our core business units, on our platforms, or on our decision making, so on and so forth. And then now let's kind of implement this, right? So this year, and I mean you were there for Jitech, Sam. I was mind blown. Did you see the number of like institutions? Every stand that I went to, they had some kind of
Yeah, some kind of
step. Yeah,
prototype of metaverse or
exactly.
avatar, 3D avatar. But it was, as you said, it was very primitive, and zero utility. Just like, hey, we build this, and for sure something that will be built on for the next year. So
Exactly.
we've seen the space professionalizing for sure, even in being here for 6, 7 months. Where initially clients didn't really know what they wanted. Now we start to see more RFPs. There are actual programs that are put in place. So it's been professionalizing the space pretty quickly when it came to client requirements and actually what they want to do.
exactly. So I mean, now I think after they have showcased their POCs or their visions in the GITEX, they have a clear idea of which company is kind of providing the services that they need. Uh, this year they will definitely start implementing, and it's going to be it's going to be a massive year. I don't want to talk about this here, but I will, because Bitcoin halving is also happening, and somewhat it kind of like the whole industry kind of reflects as a positive as well. So it happens. This industry, the blockchain industry, is positive. In my opinion, it does affect it, right? So I really see that this year we will be working with a lot of prominent entities implementing projects, or at least POCs, and years coming forward will actually be literally people, then the masses utilizing these platforms. So this year will be implementation. Next year will be getting people to use these platforms. It will be more of a user-oriented kind of journey, and the time for AI has just started. We have cognitive AI, and I see this with a lot of institutions. They want to get into cognitive and generative AI, and I see how AI is literally affecting the decision-making processes. So having all these, technologies available at hand, and the Oculus, the new, the
Apple
Apple Pro
Vision.
Vision
Yeah.
coming out, it's just getting better, I
It
think.
just reinforces the whole vision, right?
Exactly.
And you were saying before that you've been through the first digital transformation when we went from offline to traditional web. And really what we have now is a 3Dification of all these services. Everything is becoming 3D with the help of AI to build faster, to answer questions, to, as you said, cognitive AI and all that. And then you have new devices to better visualize all these things. So all of those technologies are really converging, and all of that is reinforcing what the country and the whole region really is trying to do. Because it's not just the UAE. That's also what's really exciting. If you zoom out a little bit, that you have experience, across Egypt and Qatar and Saudi, and I think there's huge opportunities there as well. And we've seen recently that Saudi just won the bid for the Expo 2030. So if we zoom out a bit, what are your thoughts on the region and how that connects to what Dubai and the UAE is trying to do?
I mean, this region, wow, that's the first thing that I would say. I mean, what Saudi is doing with Neom, with Mudarraba, it's just it's mind blowing as well. And then you see Qatar, and then you see Egypt, right? And they're all talking about immersive technologies. They're all talking about artificial intelligence, and then you see all these basically their visions. So for me, and I still remember if you have actually seen some of the rulers talking about the region, they said that the region would be the forefront of technology, right? So countries like Saudi, when they're embracing such innovative technologies, creating things which have never been thought about. I mean, Neom, who thought about this, right? What they're doing in that space is just phenomenal, right? Uh, and then, I mean, let's face it, Saudi coming from a traditional background to now kind of like opening their doors to such innovation, technology, opening the doors to the world, it kind of shows something. What does it show? Change. Change is coming. Change is inevitable, right? This technology is here to stay in this region, and it is, I would say, just the first step. You know, they say that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? This exactly is it.
This is a
Trust me,
step.
this
No.
exactly is it. And this region, this GCC region, is going to be literally the region that actually is going to be at the core center of the metaverse and AI technology and any innovative technology to come. This is what I believe. And obviously, in many cases, the UAE, the Saudi, Qatar, and they always Egypt. They always have been, in the front, as always. So I think that it's a no-brainer to see these countries harnessing these emerging technologies, and in the next few years to come, when they say top 10 economies, I can guarantee you that the first 5 or 6 would be from GCC, to be honest. You know.
That's something that I can see here. I know a lot of people, in America, or maybe in China, they find it sometimes hard to believe because it's true that historically this hasn't been, most of the tech innovation came from the US, right? Let's face it, more investment, more startup. This is just part of the culture. And I think the region here doesn't really, what people don't really understand is that the region here doesn't really compete with that. It's true that there's still a ton of talent, in other parts of the world and in America. But what I've seen here that I've never seen anywhere else is one, the vision, but two, what that vision actually implicates. And those are those large scale use cases where we can literally, as a company of a few years old, like Landvault, work directly with the top levels of the government and actually release a 3D world powered by AI, which would then be used at the scale of a ministry immediately. I mean, that just doesn't really happen in other countries where you have that kind of access and you're able to do those POCs and actually deploy your technology. And this is going to be used by, millions of people immediately. So to me, this is more the region of the use cases. This is really what the UAE is amazing at doing, is very quickly trying things, not in a small environment, like in actual production, and then figuring out if this is something they want to continue on or not. I haven't really seen that anywhere else. So I think that's really, if we have to summarize what's unique here, it's not that there's more talent necessarily. Yes, there is a lot of money here, but there's not a huge amount of investment going in startups, for example. To me, it's about the use case, the adoption. And that's really what's exciting and what attracted us here at Landvault, because we obviously want to build things that are going to be used, not just as an experiment or for a marketing campaign, but actually to be used for consumers. So that's what I've been seeing, and I think that's the part that no other country is doing at this scale.
I couldn't agree with you more, to be honest. And I'm glad you see this vision. And I guess that's one of the reasons why Landvault and you yourself is based in Dubai with that beautiful view, there as well. I mean, I think you took that step to come down here because you trusted the government's vision, the landscape in terms of doing business, and obviously the opportunity that lies within the region. So here we are.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Well,
much for having me. It's such a pleasure, to be honest. I mean, so glad to be a part of this team. So glad to once again be at the forefront of leading innovation and digital transformation. And I'm glad I'm doing it with a company like yours, Landvolt.
well, we're super excited to have you, man. And yeah, I'm sure we'll see you very soon on another episode of the podcast. Take care,
Thank you,
guys.
guys.